Welcome to the official AFL Fantasy podcast with the Traders.
G'day with the Traders. I'm Roy. I coach Destroy, and I'm here with Warnie.
Coach of the Warn Dogs.
And Gavin.
Coach of Carbonator.
All right, today we're going to have a look at the mighty Cats from a fantasy perspective.
Ooh.
And I'll tell you what, I'm very excited about one incoming Cat.
There is one incoming Cat. They did make some changes over the off-season, and they did bring in this Cat that we will talk about a fair bit very, very shortly, and that is Bailey Smith, who was the dog, now a Cat. Other players in, not really much. All rookies and that, the draftees and that sort of stuff. And they lost their, Zach Tui retired in there. Gary Rowan, he was delisted.
What? Was he?
Yeah, classic. Yeah, that's what happens.
Was he really?
Yep. Anyway, Tom Hawkins retired as well in there. So there's a couple of holes in the team.
Yes.
That are there. Last year they were pretty good at what they did. Solid.
Were they?
They were middle of the range for points for.
Right.
They were pretty easy to score against. That was
They were, and that never happens with Geelong.
No, so things have changed a little bit. But I believe that they're making changes that could see things positive, and they're actually, in one way, really looking a bit more towards the future than just trying to top up with old blokes all the time.
Yeah.
Is what they feel like they've done. So let's get into it. Let's start talking about, the relevant players. And we better start, I guess, off the top there with Bailey Smith, 598K. There's not much to say except for just lock him in.
It's just an absolute gift, isn't it? I've seen some negative press on him.
Oh,
Dog,
really?
Like it wasn't a real loss. He never finished top 10 in the BNF at the Dogs this year, blah, blah, blah. The guy was played out of position.
And he's young.
A genuine gun. He's young. Yeah, I just think I can't see him failing. I think he's been given the keys to the midfield, and I think there'll be no stuffing around on flanks and wings and whatever else. He's just going to go really well. What number are you putting on it, Dog?
Well, it's over 100. That's where I'm going, and that's probably been a little bit ballsy, but I'm going with it. He's the most selected player in Classic, and that's with good reason. Like, he's just at so much value. So he missed all of last year because of that ACL. He did it in December, so in the preseason. So he's had more than 12 months, and everything about it is flying. Like, he's had a bit of a modified program to get into it, which is obviously understandable, but that price, it makes him priced at 58.
It's a walk-up.
It is just crazy. So back in 2022, he went at 105.6, and I think it's about that role for him. And you said, Roy, that he's got the keys to the engine room. Is that what you said?
Something like that.
He's going to go into that midfield. Better. He's going in that midfield, and that's what we need from him. Like, because he was treated over those probably 18 months as well before that injury. Like. Bit of disdain by Bevo.
100%.
Well, it's just Bevo being Bevo, but he was inside, outside, he was thrown around, and he had a few issues as well. We won't go too deep into that, but he obviously was had a few mental demons there, but also even on-field stuff. Like, remember the headbutt?
Yeah.
That was on Zach
Well,
Tui,
things weren't just going... They weren't going well for him on field, and he was all over the place. He wasn't able to just lock down a position, but, like, more important than anything, I don't like to sound dodgy, but I like to check out their rigs, Dog, in the pre-season. How's he looking?
Yes, very good. You know that. You know that.
I did know that.
He could actually get you on Instagram.
What do you mean?
Bailey Smith.
I'd sign
just
up.
to be watching
his rig.
Don't you do it?
No.
Oh, you're missing
Here's
out.
a question for you.
All right, go.
So, their highest scorer last year averaged 95.
Yeah, so this is
then
an issue.
88.
Yeah, it's gross.
And then 85.
Yeah.
So, look, I'm
They
saying
didn't have Bales.
he's 100% value. I don't know if he can go 105 at Geelong. Of course, you can go 105 at the Bulldogs. Everyone goes.
I said 100, mate.
Right. Everyone goes 100 at the Bulldogs.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you make a valid point.
It's a fair point.
They don't have anyone as talented.
No, I agree.
Anymore.
I agree. But I reckon he's
They're investing there in him.
Mm.
I think that's the...
He's clearly 40 unders. Like, it's a lot.
Yes, that's easy. Yeah.
So 69% people have him in their teams at the moment.
Yeah,
what
doesn't?
are the other 31 doing?
Just haven't filled him up yet.
Anyway.
They've just signed up. Max Holmes, he was the highest averaging player there at 94.5. That makes him just a touch under $1 million, which you wouldn't be paying for him. In saying that, though, I do like him as a fantasy player. Like he's young as well, and this is sort of the future. And he can play sort of in any role. So it didn't really matter for him where he where he was playing. That was the thing. So he's got the defender mid status, which is nice. So he took his average from 76 up to 95, so nearly put 20 points on it. And he had 44% of their CBAs from round 10. So that was a shift into the midfield, and that sort of did work for him.
Yeah.
Still played a bit of time on half-back, which as we know, we love that at the moment with our players doing that. So, and like I said, it doesn't really matter too much with what position he's playing, because that's what we saw. So that's something that he's worth looking at. He'll be in draft. People will be drafting him. I think you will get even a good pick.
Are you happy picking him around that 95 mark?
Yeah, I think so. And that's where I wouldn't try to stretch to go higher. But I think that's hopefully...
There's no reason you can't hold that.
No, definitely not.
That's it. Tom Stewart, what about him? Didn't matter. We talked about the roles with that, but his role actually really mattered for him. When he went in the midfield...
Oh, yeah.
He went ballistic.
He never failed, Roy.
But it wasn't because he was a...
How many weeks?
It wasn't because of really what he did in the midfield. I think it just freed him up from having to do the work in the back line, because he still went back.
He did.
He had the CBAs, but when he had those CBAs, it was a 6-game run where he went at 116.
You're welcome.
He never failed, Roy.
So, it was amazing, wasn't it?
But then you think about that and you take those out and that sort of stuff. That average of 87 then... That would have been a lot lower without that run.
Yes, it would have been. He always finds a way.
But he does. So that was the thing. Like, that was probably a disappointing thing at the end of the day if you just look at base on his score, his average there of 87.6 from a 96, from a 94.
Yeah.
Like, he's dropped down in the last couple of years, which we're probably at some point going to expect from him, but then he still could go in and do that run. I find that really hard to pick him even in draft there. If that 87 range.
Yeah. With
because
that
can
boost
happen.
that he had, and he might not get that midfield boost.
The defender I do like, apart from Max Holmes there, is Lawson Humphries. Now, he scored a ton in his third game. That was against Collingwood in round 18. He scored a 70 and an 86 in the finals. He's priced under 70. Like, I don't think he's really a classic option because, again, this is one of those good teams with an early buy, and it is a really tough early buy too, because it's the one where there's the 4 teams on it. But I like him as an option. It might be whether you're thinking about it for your draft or even your keeper league as a bit of future there, because he's going to be a gun player, I think, and they've wanted the ball in his hands.
Good,
everything I saw, all these preseason reports too are looking pretty sweet on him too. Like he's doing all the right things, and they're liking the ball in his hands. So that's the stuff. So he won't be back in the VFL, I don't think. And fingers crossed. If you've got him in a keeper league, you're laughing with that one. Sam De Koning, now 55 average. Roy, you talked up the other day about Tom as a ruck. Sam had a bit of a go in the ruck.
He did.
Do you know he averaged 87 in the 5 games where he was their number 1 ruck?
Well,
87, and he's priced at 55.
This is the conversation here that I want to talk about, Geelong. Who are their rucks? Is he going to be the guy?
Surely not.
Why not?
Well, I don't think so. I just don't think so.
They don't want Stanley there.
Well, Stanley's the old man.
They don't want him doing it.
But do they want Conway there? But Stanley, they brought him back in, didn't they? What did they do?
They didn't even pick De Koning at the end of the year in the finals, did they?
So, I don't know. I know, they were using Blix. They had to use Blix.
Well, Blix is always that second ruck. That's pretty much the thing. He's just consistently been that chop-out ruck. That's what his thing has been. But it was him and De Koning. De Koning was the number 1 ruck, with Blix still being the backup.
De Koning didn't play finals, though, did he?
Let me check that. I don't think.
So while we're doing it, so we know that they don't want to use Stanley, and in the mix they've got De Koning and they've got Conway.
Yeah.
Now, whoever they use out of those guys, like Conway's priced at a 74.
Yeah.
We got De Koning here priced at a 55. If they're the number 1 ruck in the team.
Was De Koning injured? Surely they didn't drop him.
Well, he didn't get back in. So I think he might have lost his spot originally through injury, but then he was right, and he wasn't getting picked.
So they're going to be interesting to see who they use.
They played Stanley throughout the finals.
Yeah, but they don't like Stanley. Nobody does. I like him.
Conway was injured too. So, but he came in, like, Stanley got dropped.
But at some point, Conway, the future of the club, with a 64 next to his name, will take over the number 1 ruck.
You'd far prefer De Koning.
Yes, go De Koning then.
Because
Then
you
is he
at
gonna-
least
he's-
have fond memories of what Tom does.
Well, that's it.
He's not real big, though, is he? Like, he's one of those ones
He's just a good defender.
athletic.
Isn't he?
Anyway, whoever gets that number one spot, providing it's not Stanley, needs to be considered. Just saying.
Thanks for saying that.
You're welcome.
Conway could score.
Oh, he's a
In
good
his
player.
5 games, he
Yeah.
went at 75.
So there you go.
So he had surgery on that stress factor in his navicular bone
Where's that one? Is that connected to the hip bone?
in his foot, mate.
Yeah, it is.
And he averaged 100 in his 4 VFL games,
So there you
Conway.
go.
So
Connors can
if
score.
he's the one,
Yeah.
but you're still not picking him, though.
R2, mate. R2.
Go on, I dare you to. So Blix, as I mentioned, like he was that chop out guy, so he had 25%.
He's down, dog.
But that's down from like 30 and 37 the couple of years before
Yeah.
of what he did. But that's the Cats have always been that team for like what do you call them? Like for rucks that you just don't want to touch or think about. And they've always talked a big game at trying to get one. Remember, let's go 10 years ago. They wanted a big Hamish McIntosh. That did it happen? No, did it?
Brad Ottens.
Oh, yeah.
That was a long time
That
ago.
worked well. Didn't it?
Yep.
Got him a flag.
A couple of forwards. Let's just talk about them because they're there. Gryan Miers. So he averaged 85. Overs, unders, frustrating.
It's overs.
Yep.
I think it's fair, to be honest. I think it's fair.
He can pop a okay score,
He does,
but
and
he
it's
just
right-
does.
yeah.
He had some low ones. Like when he was
He
in that
does.
mix for who's going to be our F6 last
Yeah.
year, he had a
looked
lot of
like the
games
guy.
where it wasn't good.
Yeah, he was very frustrating.
Jeremy Cameron, was that overs as well at 84, but he's basically gone 83, 83, 84.
No, it's
History
not.
suggests
He's
it's
just a
fair.
safe guy.
Yeah,
And he plays.
he's very good.
He plays games.
But the one that I do like probably a lot there is Shaun Mannagh.
Roy, your boy.
I
Roy
think it's
started with
fair.
him.
Yeah. So what he got? What, a vest in the first round?
Vest in the
didn't
first
he?
game and then struggled in the second, played a full game.
and then
VFL
dropped.
for a lot of weeks. So how he got back there, he had 6 goals in the VFL and had 131 points. So he was very good on his first game, 115 into the senior side. So that was the first game back, that was. And averaged 84 for 10 games. So that's a pretty decent sample size there of saying
Who's
that.
the better coach, me or Chris Scott?
I'm going you.
How could he not see that from the start?
I don't know.
Goodness me.
So I was doing some sort of draft numbers on him. So,
Oh, yeah.
because he's 27. That's the thing. Like
Yep.
he's in the hitting zone for
He is.
the
He's getting on a
Cats.
bit.
But he currently ranks as a 25th forward on the board.
It's better than that.
So that's his 73 average. But that 84 that he went at in those last 10 games, that would make him top 5.
What?
So, like,
See?
it's just crazy. But that's what draft is like, where you've got that really small range or big number of players in that range. So, almost 10 points or so.
But he's good. He finds ways to score. He finds appeal.
There's enough
he
to like
tackles.
about him to do that.
He hits the scoreboard as well. Yep. No, he's a great one to watch in draft.
Definitely. Let's have a look at a couple of cash cows. Not much to write home about here. Connor O'Sullivan is one. He's a defender. He is worth 300K. Roy, you were watching him last year, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, he's a good kid. I think he played, one game last year in the end. So he's one
Scored
that will...
40.
Yep, so he was one that will start to get games.
65, he averaged in his 18 VFL games, so one to watch there. Ted Close is another one. So he played 2 games, but was sub in both of them. So he's still pretty cheap at 265K. But VFL, he was very good, like 103 average from 17 games.
Very nice.
So that's massive. And in that, there was 7 games where he scored 120. So he can score.
Can score.
That's probably about most of it, except they do have their veterans that we do talk about a little bit. Mitch
Who you
Duncan
can-
Cow.
Oh,
Can I
Duncan.
tempt you?
Yes, you can.
Going around
He was
again.
down like about 14, 15 points from what he did the 2 years prior. Does that make him value?
Yes.
Probably
No.
because he's sub at
He wore
times.
the
And
vest a
yeah.
few times,
And I
didn't
think
he?
we're going to see
he'll
that
do
again.
it a couple more.
Yeah.
Cam Guthrie was one that interested me slightly last year, and he's at 71.2. But his average went down a fair bit from what he's done in the past. But he's just on the slide now, I think. I don't think we can go there, but he does offer some value. He might be one of those late draft ones that you jump on and go, yeah, can he get back? If you're fielding players that are doing 80s, like depending on the depth of your draft, he could get there.
Yes.
But, geez, it's got to be one of those
stretch,
last picks, which he's going to be, especially with that average next to his name of 60-odd. So, yeah, that's about it.
If there's a barrel, dog's scraping it right
Well,
there.
that's it. The Cats have got a little bit to talk about, but again, they've got that bye, and it sucks.
It does.
Because they're on the big bye, and especially when you are locked and loaded in Bailey Smith, that just takes one of those players where you could go anywhere else. Because there's no way you're not picking Basley.
No. Even if you are one of the guys, if you are strong on making a rule for yourself, not picking any bye guys,
apparently that's you.
Yeah. Well, I am doing that, except Bailey Smith.
Well, yeah. There's exceptions to the rule.
He is an exception, isn't he?
40 points unders.
Is there any world where you take that on? The Bailey Smith?
I wouldn't think so.
I don't.
No. You got to go with
He's at 58. I don't think he took
70% of everyone's doing it.
How much could you have missed out on if you wait till after his bye?
Well, obviously, so much of this is about what they score in round 0 because we get that free look.
Yeah.
What score would he need to have for you not to pick him?
So he's playing Brisbane at the Gabba.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough opener.
He'll only have 78 that
Well,
game.
you might do.
So if he only has 78, would you not pick him?
Then into Fremantle St Kilda. So you think he'd be right after that. We all pick him. It's just...
At 58, almost, if it's 58 or more, you don't have any worries, do you?
No.
You got to lock it in.
I was just asking. I was trying to make it interesting.
You're watching a roll. You're watching...
to make it interesting.
Anyway... That was an interesting podcast.
It was good,
It
Tom.
was.
Well done.
I'm
Well
sorry.
done. Well done.
It was good.
Bloody thoroughly researched.
Yes, it was great.
All right. Thanks. Read the article too. AFL.com.au. Give me positive feedback, especially on Spotify about that. Anyway, pick your Cats and anyone else that you want to grab at fantasy.afl.com.au and make sure you're following us on wherever you listen to podcasts because there's still a few more of these to come.